living in right now with the coronavirus and all the economic effects that we are already seeing because of it are completely unprecedented. And in response to all of the commotion, Congress and the President signed into law the CARES Act on March 27th, so last week. And now this act is hundreds of pages long, but hopefully in this video I will break it down to the top 3, 4, 5 things that will affect most Americans. Now if you own a business, now if you are self-employed, that kind of things, there are many things in this bill directly for you, especially if you are directly affected by the coronavirus, so definitely look into that. This video will definitely be targeted to those, the average people that have a job, where what things can they expect to get from this bill and what things they can really look forward to down the road. So the first thing that is widely known by most people already, but I'm definitely going to talk about it because it is the most popular, is the rebate checks that the government is going to pay out to about 80%, 90% of all taxpayers, depending on how much money you made 2008 and 2009. So this is how it works. So if you are a single filer, like you file your taxes as a single person, then you are eligible up to a check of $1,200 from the government. Now I say up to because if you make over $75,000, then that amount slowly starts phasing after you start making over $75,000. So that's kind of how it works. Now if you are married filing jointly, then you can make up to $150,000 and you are eligible up to the $2,400 or $2,400 for your rebate check. And that's kind of how it works. Now if you have children under the age of 17, each eligible child will make you eligible for up to $500 more. So for example, if a married couple had 2 kids, right, then the married couple would be eligible for $2,400 for themselves and then $500 for each child. And that's kind of how it works. And of course, if you make over the phase out amounts, then you might be less. And if you make over too much, then you might not be eligible for anything. And so what they look at, what the government looks at is your last taxes that are on file. So if you haven't filed your 2019 taxes yet, then they're going to look at your 2018. And we don't know exactly the cutoff date when you have to file the 2019. This whole thing has happened so fast that that date has not been told to us yet. Now, let's say in 2008 and 2009, you made over the phase-out limits, you weren't eligible for anything. In 2020, if your income was less than that, like you were impacted directly, then when you file your 2020 taxes, in the spring of 2021 and it shows that your income was lower than these thresholds, then at that point you'd be eligible for a refund check. And I know that maybe at that point it'd be too late to really stop the bleeding of what's going on now, but that's how it's set up. And now the second thing that will impact most of the people in the United States is that the government, for a limited amount of time, is allowing people to take money out of retirement accounts. And these accounts are such as IRAs, your TSP if you have one, 401ks, other employer-sponsored plans. All these things do apply. And so what they're saying that people can take up to $100,000 out of these accounts if they were affected by the coronavirus in some way. And it is pretty liberal. Let's say if you got the coronavirus or one of your family members got the coronavirus, or you were fired or laid off, or you had less hours, or some way you were impacted by the coronavirus, then you may be eligible for this. They're being pretty liberal in their definition. We'll see how it actually comes down the pipe down the road, but in the original bill it was very liberal to give basically anyone that was affected at all the ability to do this. Now, they will let you take this money out. Normally, if you take money out of retirement accounts early, so basically before 59 and a half, before age 59 and a half, then you'd be subject to a 10% penalty, a fee, as well as a 20% withholding where that money would then go to taxes, right? So with this bill, with this provision, you'd be able to take that 100 grand out. You would not be subject to the 10% fee, and you would not have the 20% withholding. You would still have to pay taxes on that money if it was a pre-tax account, But the good news is they're going to let you spread that income over the course of the next 3 years. So 2020, 2021, and 2022. So instead of having a huge tax bill in this year, you could spread that out into 3 years if desired. You don't have to, but that is something you can do. And not only can you do that, but you can actually replace the money back into your retirement account over the next 3 years without any penalty. So this can be a huge advantage to gain access to these funds to cover maybe some immediate expenses that have arisen because of the coronavirus. And of course, we'll have to see how this comes out. I know with the TSP and other things, they haven't released a statement on exactly how they're going to apply this, but in the original bill, this is how it's written. So it'll probably take some days, some weeks to see how this will actually be applied into these accounts. But this is the general rules and really could be helpful for a lot of people down the road over the next couple months. So the third thing that is most likely to affect many Americans is that the government for 2020, year 2020, is going to be waiving the RMDs or required minimum distributions out of retirement accounts. So the only people that this would apply to are those that are either over 70 and a half. The rule just changed, so now it's over 72, but in the past it was 70 and a half. Once you get to those ages, if you have an IRA, a TSP, a 401k, any pre-tax retirement accounts, then you'd be forced to withdraw some of that money so the government can take its piece of the taxes. Because until you pull that money out of a pre-tax account, they don't get any of their taxes, right? And so once you hit these ages, then you have to start taking money out, right? That's the rule. But the government said for this year, they are waiving that responsibility. So you don't have to, so you can keep your money in the account and let it keep growing without paying taxes today. Now the fourth thing and the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video is student loans. So the government is going to be waiving all student loan payments from now to September 30th, 2020. So we have a window of some months where these can be waived. Now, if you have, let's say, an automatic payment thing going on right now, you'll have to go in and change that. That's not going to be stopped automatically. So make sure you go and do that. And basically during this time, interest is not going to accrue on your loan. So for those that are really being stressed by what's going on, this may be a lifesaver to kind of free up some cash flow to really focus on just surviving, right? But for example, if you weren't as affected, maybe your income was still coming, this may be a great opportunity to get ahead of your loans, to really get a ton paid off when zero interest is accruing during this time. Now, with that being said, if you are on a repayment plan or a loan forgiveness plan, where after a certain number of years your loans will be forgiven, this period of months between now and September 30th, 2020, then that time will still count for these forgiveness plans. So if you are in one of these plans, it probably makes sense not to pay anything down during this time, because at the end of your forgiveness plan. So again, if you are in one of these repayment plans, it probably does not make sense to keep paying down your loans during this time, even if you aren't super affected by the coronavirus, because at the end of the day, they're going to pay back whatever is due after the 10 years or whatever your specific repayment plan is. For the public service loan forgiveness program, then it is 10 years, and at that time, whatever is left, that's what they're going to forgive. So for those people in that program, for example, it probably does not make sense to pay down the loans any amount at all during the deferment period where the government's saying, hey, you don't have to pay your payments on your student loan. So these are the things, these four things are really things you should be thinking about as the average American that will probably be affected during this whole coronavirus thing with all the stimulus bill going on. So make sure if one of these things apply to you, educate yourself on how it's actually gonna come down the pipe, what you have to actually do to be eligible. Do the research. Things are changing very rapidly right now. Even if the bill says one thing, how it actually comes down at the end of the road may look a little different. So make sure you kind of keep up to date on the things that affect you. Now, the stimulus bill has incredible things for business owners, self-employed people. These types of people have incredible options because of the stimulus bill. So if that applies to you, please make sure you do the research to take advantage of these things. This could be thousands of dollars easily, very quickly, a swing very quickly of what the stimulus bill can do for many people. So I hope this is helpful information for you. please do your best to do your own research. Take what I give you and let it spur you to action to get the most out of your life, out of your benefits, out of your financial life, to really enjoy life to the fullest. So that's the goal. And I will see you in the next video.